Thank you, and good evening, members, to tonight's Licensing and Safety Committee, 10th of December. Apologies for absence, please. Apologies. No apologies received from your side? Councillor Peake, we've got apologies from Councillor Field, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Sorry.
That's okay. That's what we have.
Yes, we have, Chair.
That's okay.
Apologies to Councillor Field.
Thank you. Can I sign the record of the meeting held on the 6th of August 2024 as correct, please? Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. I don't have any urgent matters. Are there any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interests or other significant interests tonight on the agenda for any member? None at all? Welcome, Councillor Fern. Okay, let's go to item 5, the Gravesham and Medway shared licensing service update, please. So it'll be Mark and Mandy. Yep, that's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This report provides an update on the progress of the shared licensing service between Medway Council and Gravesham Borough Council, which began on the 1st of January 2019. The licensing team is responsible for the functions that are listed in Appendix A, which is on page 13. The structure at that time is attached at Annex 1 on page 17. The team became fully staffed for the first time in November 2022, which enabled progress to be made with proactive compliance and enforcement activities, including fee collection and associated interventions following non-payment. Around the same time, 2 members of the team were awarded additional duties payments to reflect roles in which they were acting up, and changes were temporarily made to reporting lines within the team. These changes are reflected in the temporary staff structure shown at Annex 2 on page 18. Unfortunately, in summer 2023, one of the licensing officers and a licensing assistant resigned, both for non-work related reasons. The impacts of this on proactive compliance and enforcement and other areas of work were further compounded by 2 additional members of staff being absent on long-term sickness during the October and November, resulting in the team having to refocus on statutory duties pending approval for recruitment to the vacant posts and officers returning from sick leave. Following the successes of the temporary structure, which proved to work well operationally, as well as in providing greater career progression opportunities and succession planning measures, this structure was made permanent and approval given to recruit to the vacant posts. A copy of the current licensing service structure reflecting this is attached at Annex 3 on page 19. The resultant vacant licensing assistant and licensing apprentice posts have now been successfully filled, which has brought the team back to full capacity. The restructure has kept to the same number of positions as before. This has proven essential as officers cover work of both licensing authorities, handling new and expanding licensing regimes, as well as ensuring service continuity during staff shortages. Access to a broader range of specialists from various departments such as public health, IT, digital, environmental health, legal and finance continues to support the advice and guidance provided by the shared licensing service. This diverse expertise enables informed decision-making, effective functioning and knowledge expansion. The team operates in a hybrid arrangement, maintaining regular communication throughout weekly meetings to address complex matters collaboratively. Active participation in multi-agency groups such as the Kent and Medway Regulatory Licensing Steering Group and the Safety Advisory Groups for both authorities further supports this objective. The team members are highly qualified, having achieved professional licensing practitioners' qualifications. Staff are encouraged to undertake relevant training and participate in corporate working groups for personal development. The team's knowledge and approach towards change, coupled with managerial, administrative and technical support, has been invaluable in progressing the shared service. The shared service is highly successful and innovative, benefiting from solutions like online applications and automatic data population. Continuous professional and personal development is supported through training courses and coaching. The team received bystander training and completed online accessibility training to ensure website content meets accessibility requirements. Management maintains an open door policy and frequently liaises with staff. Debt collection and visits to licensed premises continue to be carried out monthly to collect unpaid annual fees. These efforts usually result in immediate debt clearance. Additional proactive enforcement and compliance have resumed, including visits to licensed premises and vehicle inspections at taxi ranks throughout each borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Mark, do you want to add anything? Are you okay? You're good?
No, thank you, Chair. I think Mandy covered that.
Members, questions, please. Councillor Filmer. Councillor Hamilton.
Oh, I'm now on. I'll start again. Thank you, Mandy. I just wanted to ask a question around the enhanced digital service. So obviously in Medway, we're going through a digital transformation process. And I'm just wondering to what extent there has been discussions, coordination with respect to the technology that you're using and the very extensive project or programme that we're currently underway here in Medway.
We are hosted by Gravesham Borough Council, so all of our digitalisation is on the Gravesham network. So in terms of the Medway website, our pages on Medway website directs them to the Gravesham website so that they can do their online applications, and that's as far as our involvement goes in terms of the digitalisation that Medway is going through at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Anyone else? No other questions? Councillor Brown?
I'm quite curious about some of what's going on. Firstly, I'd like to know what the bystander training is and how it benefits the service. That's my first one. Do you want me to ask them all, or will we take them one at a time? Thanks, Mandy.
So the bystander training is to enable staff to recognise how to deal with situations which deals with recognising difficult situations that could entail, sort of fights and or aggressive behaviour, and who it is that they need to contact. If they recognise, for example, that there is a child that's with a parent, for example, it incorporates some of the safeguarding as well, that tends to come up to reception, for example. Staff will be able to recognise whether or not there is a need, I suppose, for intervention from various agencies.
Great. I see that you're saying that it'll be later in the year when the rest of the staff have this. Is it the calendar year or the financial year?
It's the calendar year. I can say now that since the writing of this report, all of our staff have had the bystander training.
Brilliant. I have two other questions. One is about compliance and enforcement. I know that you had difficulties in getting some enforcement work for Medway. Has that now been scheduled?
Yes, we do have a number of operations planned, and that is, we don't release dates or exactly what we're doing because we don't want that to be highlighted out.
I see that we've got our scrap metal licence compliance. It's with environmental team. Have we had any issues within the recent past on that you're aware of?
No, not at all. In fact, I can say that the service level agreement that we have with them has been successful. They undertake prosecutions on our behalf, and they've successfully prosecuted a number of scrap metal collectors, if you like. So, yeah.
On my favourite subject, money. the debt collection, you say, is time consuming, and you're confident that it is successful. Have we, because we have shared services with Gravesham about other activities, and we get a little bit more detail on how much it costs and how much they recover. But is there a plan to improve this in the future for this service so that we have a bit of an idea what it's costing us and what we're getting back from it?
It's all done in-house, so in terms of the cost to the service, there is no cost to our service in terms of the debt collection, because all we do is we will suspend their licence to prevent them from trading, and then they literally pay up, or they don't trade. It's as simple as that. We started off when we migrated from Medway over to Gravesham with a horrendous debt list, and now we do it on a monthly basis, and it's brought the debt down so that we're only having maybe 5 or 10 people that have not paid, and they've just sent a gentle reminder, and if they fail then we will suspend the licence.
Thank you. That's great in terms of that, but actually there is a cost to the business, because the whole service costs, and we don't actually, it isn't cost neutral, or hopefully it's not cost neutral. I'm comparing it to internal audit, which costs roughly 200,000 a year, but they generate 300,000 a year. Don't have any figures in these things, and so I'm just saying, plan going forward. It would be helpful for members if we did. That's all.
Yeah, I've made a note of that. We can certainly look to factor that in next time around. I mean, I suppose slight difference with the other shared services insofar as licensing does have to be cost neutral. So we shouldn't be generating a profit, and if we are, then over a longer period of time, we should be adjusting our fees and charges accordingly so that it does end up cost neutral. So we do review the fees every year, make sure that we increase them at least by the minimum that members indicate, and if there's scope to add more to make sure we are at cost recovery, we do. That can be challenging, but of course we need to try and keep alignment of certain fees and charges across the two authorities as well. But where there is a disparity, we always seek to bring up the lower one, of course, given council's wider financial position. But yeah, I can certainly look to bring more detail on that next time around.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Peake.
Just following on my colleague's question about the licensing fee when people don't charge, and say simple as they either pay up or their license suspended. What is the capacity like as a department in terms of staff and process to really be quickly on that? Or is it something that tends to, they in effect stuck two fingers, haven't they, up to the Medway and think, oh, I was going to carry on anyway. I mean, do they get away with it at all, please?
No, they don't get away with it, not anymore. In the past, as I say, historically they would have done, because we didn't have the facility or the capacity to be able to keep a real check on the money coming in, the way that the finance system worked, etc. But now we're at a position we get a list every single month of outstanding debt, which we are on immediately. We send out notifications of intention to suspend. They're given a 4-week period in which time that they then have to pay up, or their licence must be suspended, and it is suspended. So, yeah.
And you physically go and check?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have officers that do go out when suspension notices have been issued. We'll have officers that will go out for those that don't respond. But 9 times out of 10, the majority that have a notice of intention to suspend will pay up. Those that don't have the suspension, and then officers will visit, maybe a month later to check that they're no longer trading.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peake. Councillor Fern.
Yep, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mandy and Mark, for the report and for the update. Obviously, a few of us have been on this committee for a while now, and we've had this sort of update a few times, and some really positive sort of news and feedback that you give us. one thing that we don't really see is how we're measuring where we were to where we are today. So, I mean, you might not want to answer this question, but where do you both think we are compared with where we were before we started the shared service? And you know, do you think there's been the improvement? Obviously, we've had the cost efficiency savings, but have you seen the other improvements? And do you think it's the right thing? Did we make the right decision?
Certainly from my perspective, I've been in licensing since we became Medway Council, and since moving over to Gravesham Borough Council, I've seen a much better service provision. We had the incident with the COVID situation, for example. We were able to continue providing the same level of service to ensure that all our taxi drivers could continue working because of the digital enhancements that we had over at Gravesham and that we've continued to improve on. And I think also having the additional staff that we've got enables us to provide that additional support to our customers. And the lack of complaints that we've had since the implementation of the shared service, we haven't had any. So.
Okay, is there any way that we can sort of measure of those improvements, actually sort of see the hard facts of how, you know, where the improvements have come? Because say we've seen this report a few times, and full credit to both you guys. I know you work extremely hard, and you know, as I said earlier, we've been on this committee together for a long time now. But are there actually anywhere that we can actually measure what improvements have been made, and are there any of the hard facts there that we can sort of say to our residents and to the rest of the council?
I don't think we've got comparable data sets from before the commencement of the shared service and since. Certainly the kind of key performance indicators have changed over the years. So I don't think we would have something directly comparable. What we could do is seek to provide some reassurance of the level of service by providing more data, more performance data, to show, you know, that we are kind of turnaround times of licence applications, things like that. So whilst we wouldn't be able to say it's changed from what's now, 5 years ago, we could probably say, but look, we're hitting 100% of this and, you know, 95% of this consistently as a reassurance. I think that's probably the best I could offer, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I definitely get both sides of it. I think you were right, Mandy. During COVID, we did continue, and everything was great. I think if you ask people on the ground, some of the providers, they'd all say it was much better in Medway, blah blah blah. And we have been on this committee for some time, haven't we, Councillor Firm? But I think it's a good question to ask, just to cover that, you know, that baseline, the volumes, see where we are over the last 5 years, and then maybe we can get some data about what it was, the cost beforehand, and because I know it's a question many members ask quite a lot. There's plenty of discussion between members about it, and I don't think it's about it was much better beforehand to now. It's about the value for money and evidence based to prove that it's doing well. I think that's what we need to maybe get our heads together to work out what we would require from that, and that could be an offline maybe with myself, Vice Chair and Spokes, and you guys, and try and get some of that detail just to show the benefit. And you are right, the regime has changed dramatically, hasn't it, over the time? So, is that all right, Councillor? Do you want to come?
That's fine. So my where I was going with it really, I mean, I appreciate exactly everything you've said, and as I said to you, you know, obviously I know how hard you work on this, but I think we would have moved forward if it was just Medway anyway. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do the shared service, because I completely get it. But it's just having sort of those facts really and evidence in that.
Thanks, Councillor Fern. Any other questions on that? Okay, going on to item 6. Can I just have some clarity on the policy, just very quickly, about the process? Oh, decision. Sorry, is noted. Over to Vice Chair. Sorry, rushing ahead.
Sorry. That the committee notes the comments on the report at Appendix A and any other recommendations from the committee, particularly around the increased need for data, and that we'd meet offline to discuss what we really need to see. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Seconded. And agreed, members? Agreed, thank you. Now do it again now. on the item 6, can we just make it clear for all members here present? So this will go out to consultation, and it will go out following today's, and then come back afterwards. Perfect. Just for clarity. So, and okay, I'll open it to members, then I come back. Mandy, do you want to go?
Thank you. Yeah, so tonight the purpose of this report is to seek approval from you to consult the taxi trade on the Hackney Carriage and taxi tariff review policy. So it is at the discretion of the council as a licensing authority to set a tariff for licensed Hackney carriages operating within the borough. And historically, requests for any tariff increase were always submitted on an ad hoc basis by the Medway Licensed Taxi Drivers Association, known as the MLTDA. And these were duly advertised in accordance with Section 65(2) of the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act for a period of 14 days, and if no objections were received, the tariffs would come into effect on the day after the expiration of the consultation period. This all came about because of a request for a tariff increase from an individual licensed driver, and it highlighted a flaw in our current processes. And the request was considered by the licensing subcommittee on the 14th of December in 2021. And in order to seek to address the issues outlined, members authorised officers to engage with the trade on drafting a policy to review the Hackney Carriage tariffs and report to a future meeting of the Licensing and Safety Committee. So there's been a considerable amount of work in drafting up the policy as it stands now. We've had various versions of it. And this policy that's attached at Appendix A, which is on pages 25 to 28, has been written following discussions with the MLTDA and management involvement as well. So we're just seeking consent to now consult with the trade on this and then report back to a future meeting. Thank you.
Members? Councillor Fern.
Yeah, I assume, Mandy, you spotted the typo in 7.2 in terms of the date for consultation. Is the first one.
Oh, yes, sorry. I do apologise.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, no problem. And also, I've absolutely no issue with this. I think this is really good, and actually what we need. Fully support this, and we'll support this tonight. And again, as I mentioned at the meeting last week, it just sort of helps to sort of get all these things in a line. So yeah, no, in full support of this.
Councillor Pick.
Yeah, I was just myself looking at the agenda again. I see references to back in 2021 when it first came along, and it also says here under frequency review every 2 years, commencing 2026. Where I'm coming from is that since I've been on this, I've understood or perceived that we have a really good relationship with the organisation, and therefore had ongoing dialogue. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the case. Are we saying that there hasn't been this type of actual official review before? Okay, so that's the first part. And the second part is, because you've done it in consultation, I presume that we are hopeful that they will agree, or any minor niggles, and then we'll be going forward with it, yeah? Okay.
The consultation has been done, as I say, with the chair of the MLTDA, and he has I believe, has discussed with his committee before it came back to us. We had various versions of it, but of course, as with anything, that involves the taxi trade, you've got to consult with the whole trade.
And
So
not just-
they
yeah.
then
I
that
get
way
that.
that they all have their input. And it will be the results of the consultation that will then come back to you, so you can see the comments that are made and to see whether or not there are any scope for improving on the policy as it stands now, or whether it goes as is.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, can I just commend this approach, because this is very much where I'm at with things, that you're doing something with people. So I presume the whole idea is, and I think you're achieving it, is that they will buy into this because you've spoken to them, because you've listened, because a lot of people do not know how to listen. And this will mean presumably that all of them, at least the vast majority of actual drivers, will want to follow this through, and therefore it's very positive. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Peake. Any other member? Okay, I've just got some, Mandy. I know the consultation with the MLTDA was in January, wasn't it? That's when we had it. And we don't have to see any of that suggestions or consultation, because it will all come back via our consultation. We decide on it anyway, wouldn't we? That's the thing. Can I just ask you, there was a big debate, we've had a recent debate about that biannual or annual review. Now, I'm tending to look at annual review. I don't know if that's what I walked into earlier, but I think annual review is more beneficial. I suppose we're not stuck on that, are we? We can decide what we want as a committee, rather than just, it may not change, but we can either do biannual or annual when it comes back.
Absolutely. The reason why it was biannual is because that was the recommendation that came through from the original licensing subcommittee. And also it does make, it's very time consuming as well. And when you look historically at the number of requests that have come through from the taxi trade, historically it's never been on an annual basis, and there's sometimes they've not asked for a review for 4 years, you know, so a biannual seemed to be a happy medium, and I think that's how that was approached.
I think I'm just saying around, I know some members have said about annual or biannual, it's just about keeping it in there as that, but it's down to this committee to make that decision when it comes back.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm thinking quite a few members would want annually, but I'm just keeping it out there for when it comes back instead of now, just to make you aware that that's there. The other part is around the increments and denomination. Who's going to make those decisions about that? Because people making decisions about the increments and denomination would have to know a little bit about the trade, because they're going to need to know what goes on that.
I wholeheartedly agree.
So them meters are so confusing.
And the intention is the consultation, the taxi tariff review is going to be council-led rather than trade-led, but it will be done in conjunction with the trade. So the intention is that we would liaise with the trade when we start the review and request their suggestions for us to consider before we then go out to consultation, because it is the trade that know the market. They know the costs that's incorporated, their costs that we wouldn't be party to.
No.
So, as a starting point, we would request their suggestions, and it would be us then that would sit behind the scenes and work through those and see whether they're workable. We have to liaise with the meter agents as well to make sure that whatever is suggested is feasible before it goes out for consultation.
So all the due diligence will be done and etc. So there is an element of independence as well as liaison as well. So we need to do that. Yeah. Hence you probably saying about the biannually, because that's quite a lengthy process as well, isn't it, doing that. So and we'd look at inflation around that as well at the time. I presume if there was changes in inflation etc. we'd look at that when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And dare I mention the Christmas, the lovely Christmas tariffs. I know we've had this discussion as well, and there's been no disagreement. I know the Christmas tariffs will go into this review. Go on, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Let's have it properly on camera.
Yeah, so the short answer, Chair, is no. The reason for that is this is a policy rather than a change to the tariffs. So this policy sets out when and how we will review the tariffs, but it doesn't actually change our table of fares. To add in the Christmas rates into our tariff cards on a permanent basis would require a formal review of our tariffs, and that's got its own separate statutory process that has to be followed. So we're absolutely on board with embedding the Christmas tariffs permanently into Medway's tariff card. Having looked at it ourselves, we pulled up 7 or 8 years of the Christmas tariff requests, and they haven't changed. So it makes perfect sense to put those in permanently. But as I say, that has to be a separate statutory process to do that. That's something that we'll bring back round next year in good time, ahead of Christmas, so that we can carry out that prescribed consultation and hopefully embed those permanently.
It's just trying to help streamline, really. That's what
Absolutely,
for you
yeah.
guys as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just because I'm bare of small brain, I want to just make sure that we're consulting on the policy at the moment. We're not actually consulting on tariffs, right?
Yes.
And we will have a formal review of documentation at the end of this. So phase 1, we're going out with this. This will come back as amended, if necessary, or as is, depending on the feedback from the consultation.
Yes.
Right? And then we have a different process to actually review the tariff rates.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And just answering Councillor Peake's thing, that relationship has been ongoing quite a long time with Mandy and the trade, and it's it's a long time actually, especially with the previous chairs of MOTDA as well, and the wider trade, because there is the wider trade out there, not members of the MOTDA, etc. But what we normally do, and members, I know opposite Councillor Fernand's always agreed, and I do, and so do others, is that once it comes back here, hopefully on the same page, we normally ask the chair of the MOTDA to come and just give their, it doesn't influence what the consultation feedback is, but just give their view as well. So that's that partnership approach again, but the committee are the ones that make the decision based on all the consultation responses back. I suppose, Mandy, will you be asking the trade in all different areas to try and push that consultation out everywhere, so it's not just the MOTDA but wider as well, I suppose?
Well, we have a facility where I literally emails every single taxi driver. So it's a requirement that they provide us with an email address, so that that way it will combat every driver, because although the taxi tariff is relevant only to Hackney carriages, the private hire trade do have meters in their vehicles, and they do incorporate the set tariffs set by the council, so they like to have their voices heard as well.
Councillor Peake.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, so the taxis are not part of that organisation. They follow the same tariffs. Is that what you just said?
Yes, they do. Yes.
Council tariffs?
Yes.
Well, that's good, isn't it? Otherwise it'd be
Yeah.
all sorts of... Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Vice Chair.
That the committee approve the proposed Hackney Carriage tariff review policy for consultation and agree to officers proceeding with the same.
Seconded, members? Seconded. Is that agreed? Agreed, thank you. Just to finish, really, it's just that our usual thanks to the licensing team and everyone involved in the licensing team, obviously to Nicola and to our wonderful legal team and everyone. It's always a busy time. There's been a busy year, difficult year in many ways. And again, thank you very much for always assisting on the committees, assisting at hearings. It is really appreciated from everyone involved. Just wanted you to hear that. And I'm saying Merry Christmas all the time now. I don't know why. Can I just amend as well on camera? Obviously, at the beginning we gave apologies for Councillor Field. Councillor Field is here, and also Councillor Kemp is now here. So for clarity for the notes. That's the meeting concluded, members. Thank you very much.
Bye.